Hello and welcome to I Can Relate. I'm Jessica Burns. This podcast takes us on people's journeys through personal and sometimes sensitive experiences. These are usually topics that are not spoken about, and the hope here is that by bringing them to light, it'll help others feel less alone in what they're going through. I look forward to embarking on this journey with you as we develop a greater understanding and empathy for one another. Today, I sat down with Charlotte Bouchard. She gives us an insight into what it's like to ride the wave of fame on Instagram and the realities that come with that. Her sister, Eugenie Bouchard, is a professional tennis player, so some of you might know her. And as her career took off, Charlotte experienced tens of thousands of people following her on Instagram. She now has over 100,000 followers. While she enjoyed the excitement and the newness of this experience, it wasn't long before she was confronted with the darker side of that spotlight. She shares how this popularity gained the unwanted attention of a cyber stalker, whose obsession became a safety concern for her and her inner circle. Charlotte gives some practical tips of how to be safe online and also how to set healthy boundaries with social media because, as you can imagine, she gets hundreds of comments, so many inbox requests. Will you promote this? Will you promote that? So for her, she really has got it down, in my opinion, of how to have a healthy relationship with your phone and with social media. And one of the key pieces of advice in that regard that I took away was making that mindset shift from using your phone as a tool instead of a toy. So I learned a lot from Charlotte. She's super cool, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hi, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks so much for joining.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So, if you don't mind me jumping straight in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go there. Okay.
Let's go.
So you have about 100,000 followers on Instagram. So you're what someone would call an influencer, right? But you don't think of yourself as an influencer. Why is that?
I don't know, something about that word. I've always had a bit of a thing with that. I just feel like it's quite a strong word. And with that comes responsibility. And I love to, where I can, use my influence positively and sort of promote things or talk about things that I really believe in. But I guess I wouldn't call myself an influencer in that it's not, it's kind of like a hobby for me, Instagram, if that makes sense. It's kind of just like something on the side. It's fun. I can kind of pick it up if I want to and put it back down if I want to. So I guess because it's not sort of my livelihood, it's not really like what I'm doing. So I don't like to kind of refer to myself as an influencer. I feel like people that are influencers are more so like really kind of trying to make it in that world.
Yes, as like a profession.
Exactly.
And so how did you rise to fame on the
Instagram?
Oh,
How did I rise to fame? So, well, I think probably about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I kind of started to accumulate some followers on Instagram. Basically, my sister is a professional tennis player, and she
shout
out Jeannie. She obviously with her kind of rising to fame in the tennis world, and people kind of start to look, oh, who are the sisters, or who are the people, just figure things out.
I want to say, for the sake of my mother, she loves your sister Eugenie. So like she's like, I've followed that girl her whole career because my mom's Canadian. So, and just like loves tennis. So my mom
So
was
sweet.
very excited when I said I was speaking to you today. She was like,
oh, hi, Jess's mom.
Yeah.
And so I think at first it was something I was not at all sort of into. Also, Instagram, I mean, I think about it, when I first got Instagram, it was nothing like what it is today. So it probably started trickling in, like 20,000, 30,000. I was like, oh, this is cool. You post something, you get a lot of engagement on it, or you get people replying to it. And it was definitely cool to kind of see that starting to come in. And then um, when I first moved to London in 2016, I came over here for an exchange. So a year of my undergrad, I studied over here. And as kind of a side thing, I was like, oh, this could be fun. So I kind of started getting into it a little bit. And when I say into it, I mean very on the spectrum of influencing. I've always been on the kind of lower side of it, but
Yeah.
I was just like dabbling with it. Um, and then I noticed, as I'm kind of being more active on it, then more followers started coming in. And yeah, so I guess it was kind of just like a slow rise.
Organic growth. All right.
Well, definitely a boost, an initial boost, and then yeah,
Yeah.
probably just organic growth. I mean, yeah, I'd say a slow trickling over the years.
Okay. I mean, a slow trickle for me is like 5 followers. For you, it's like 10,000 slowly came in on Tuesday.
I mean, you say that, but it's nowadays people nowadays almost 1 million followers is like people have crazy amounts of followers now. So
My God, yeah.
I've it's nuts. So even like having 100,000 is like okay, it's not, and I'm not very, I don't I don't kind of look at the number as a
Yeah.
sense of achievement or a sense of
Yeah,
accomplishment.
validation.
It's
Yeah.
yes, at
I
all.
hope you don't mind me talking about your family.
Yeah, yeah.
Was your whole family starting to rise to fame as well? Like your mom, your dad, like people are just so interested in like the story, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think people kind of, yeah, with Jeannie, obviously, in the tennis world, people are, oh, she has a sister, she has another sister. We also have a younger brother, so we're four. And then I have two cousins as well who are kind of influencers. But yeah, it kind of all trickled in. And like I said, people just figure things out with the internet. They just like all you have to do is Google it, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
there's another sister. Ooh, there's another sister. Ooh, there's a
Oh
cousin. Like
God.
people just love it. They kind of love piecing it together and being like, oh, I found her. I found this.
Was that quite scary in the beginning or was it exciting?
It was exciting in the beginning, I would say, mostly because it was just like new territory. It was something I had never really, you know, experienced before. And it's also just it was so new in general. I think Instagram and influencers and all that kind of thing only really blew up in the last what, like 5 to 7 years, I kind of want to
Yeah.
say. I mean, there were original like OG influencers before they even knew what the name influencer was. This whole kind of influencer thing is just basically, promoting something, speaking about it, and hoping other people, buy into it essentially, or share the vision and want to do what you're doing. So they're people have been doing this for years and years and years, and then Instagram kind of became this platform where it was more widely accessible.
Yeah. And I think for like photographs wise, have you felt any pressure to, because I know people who post like bathing suit pictures like gets more likes. So it's like the more
Oh
the
yeah.
more you take off your clothes, the more likes and validation you're gonna get. Like, do you
That
feel
is it to a
pressure?
T.
Yeah.
To a T. You just hit the nail on the head.
Thank you.
It's pretty much down to a science.
Yeah.
In that yeah, I've noticed it 100%. And I like to take photos of. I kind of feel like I have a bit of an eye for it. I would not call myself a photographer, but I appreciate like architecture and beautiful like nature and just
Yeah.
beautiful things, and I've always loved to take photos of that, and I'll share that on my Instagram as well, and those get no likes, you know what I mean? But I'm like, I don't care. I think
Yeah.
this is cool. If it's just a scenic photo, it's on the lower end of the likes, and then I'd say all the way down to, yeah, bikini photos are the top. But I think that's just standard, which is kind of like sad in a way. I think it's but Instagram is a photo based platform. People go on it, people want to see, and it also depends on the type of following you have. Depends who your followers are. I know that most of my followers are men, like 10, like in that you can literally see in your demographics what kind of age range and what the gender divide is. So, when you look at the stats and then you think, oh, well, that makes sense why the bikini photo does
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
than, sort of middle-aged women who would maybe appreciate the scenic one more. I don't know.
Yeah. All the
It's
Karens out there.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the age demographic for you?
I would say, I think it's 18 to 35
Okay. All right.
is
Nice.
like the bulk of it.
Yeah.
Um,
I know from my
Yeah.
experience,
That's,
I have like literally nowhere near anything close to what you have, but I've experienced very inappropriate messages. It started on Facebook, like in the private message section, which was quite
mm,
funny because I didn't discover this for like 5 years that there's like a private message section.
oh,
And I remember going in there and it just being this like time capsule of just the most ridiculous, hilarious, inappropriate things. And one
mm-hmm.
example I'll use is this man over the course of, I think it was 5 years. He started, it was along the same lines every time. He'd be like, "Hey, can I be your sugar daddy? Why? Do you need a sugar daddy?"
Yeah, there's a lot of those out there.
Like what? And I literally like space, and I'm talking about like spaced over years. Like, answer me.
Mhm.
Do you want me to be your sugar daddy? And I literally like
Oh,
years later opened this and was like, oh my god, stop.
yeah. I mean, first of all, the dedication is unbelievable. The
Yeah.
time span, the time that they put into it is like, wow, okay, you're really not giving up. Um, yeah, I mean, I get, funny comments, weird comments, inappropriate comments, of the whole range of it. And you kind of, I think over the years, you just kind of get used to it. You kind of get a little bit numb to it. Some of them are actually really funny. And then some of them are just, wow, oh, I'd love to meet you or this or that. And there's a whole wide range of it. But I recently took a huge social media break. One of the things I felt with the following was this pressure to keep people updated all the time and to always be, posting a new photo, posting on your stories. And if I went a few days without it, I'd be like, I need to keep them in the loop, keep them updated. And it basically got to a point where I was like posting just for the sake of it,
Mm,
just just to keep my account active, and that's when it started to induce more anxiety, induce more stress around posting, and oh, I didn't post in a few days, I need to do this, I need to do that. And that actually is what kind of led me to the 2 month detox, because I was like, this is not me, this is not healthy, this is not good, this is not even my job, this is just something. But you kind of get sucked in, you
yeah,
really kind of get sucked into this need to share.
absolutely.
and and so a big thing for me was realizing that I don't need to be sharing all the things that I was, and actually just appreciating certain things for myself and just enjoying them, whether it's something that I'm looking at, whether it's something that I'm doing, actually just going and doing it for me and doing it because I want to, and not because, oh, I need to get an Instagram, or I need to get a this, or I need to get a that. Or, so often it would be, well, pre-COVID days, going to an event, and it would be like, okay, let's get the picture out of the way and then I can have fun.
Mm,
And that pressure was like, oh, it's, I don't know, it's something maybe people that are kind of more pursuing this as a career can manage better. Maybe they're better at it, or they can, they know exactly what they want and they go in and they do it. But I definitely had spouts of anxiety of what do I post, or I need to show this, or I need to show that. So really just actually enjoying and appreciating things for myself. And I think that also, that's been part of my kind of changing relationship with it, is we're so we're so quick to take out our phones and take pictures of things. It's such a reflex. First of all, our phones are, in our hands 24/7. It's like an extension of our arm, basically. And as soon as we see something that's, oh, that would look cool on my Instagram, or oh, even if it's sending it to friends as well, that's another thing. I would so quickly walk by something, take a picture, keep walking. And what this detox really helped me do is walk by it, look at it, enjoy it, appreciate it, have a moment with it, and then keep walking and
yeah,
not even take a picture of it.
yeah,
Really look at it myself. And what I found is, yeah, so often we would take a picture of it and then we would look at it through the picture.
yes,
How
yeah,
sad is that?
yeah,
We're walking by these beautiful monuments, or, I say, like, 'cause I love taking pictures of like beautiful architecture and things like that.
yeah.
And we're walking by it and snapping the photo and then continuing to walk on face down in our phone.
Mhm.
And I think it's so important to actually really sit there with it, enjoy it, appreciate it for all its glory in front of you, and then take a picture if you feel like it or not.
Yeah.
And that need to always take a picture of it has really dissolved for me with this kind of, I'm calling it this detox, this little 2 month detox. It really helped me just be like, wow, that's, you know what, I'm just going to enjoy this myself. This is for me. One thing I've really tried to do is really use my phone as a tool more so
Mm.
than a toy. And that's not to say don't go on your phone and
Yeah.
don't have a scroll and have fun, but using it as a tool, going on with a purpose, doing what you have to do, and then going off of it. So even if that is going on and posting that photo, doing it and then coming off of it. And
Yes.
another thing that this detox really showed me is like, I just want to live my life. I don't want to keep watching other people's too. And don't get me wrong, it's fun sometimes. And for your friends that you actually want to know what they're up to, it can be really handy.
Yeah.
But so often it takes hours out of our days. And I'm like, oh, wait, I spent an hour watching random people's stories that I don't even really care about or really know
Yeah.
instead of living my own life. So it's been
Absolutely.
really like a good kind of one of those aha moments, as Oprah would
Yes.
say, of just,
Oprah.
yeah, of just
Absolutely.
being like, I want to live my life, not live it through my phone and not keep
Absolutely.
up this. It's also this dual personality. That's another thing. It's like your life online and your actual life. It
Yeah.
will never be an accurate representation ever,
Or-
ever. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be a curated sort of representation. And what happens with that is that, it's show the best and hide the rest. That's
Ooh,
often what it is. And more and
ideal
more,
bikini, you know?
more and more you're seeing people being more real on Instagram, which I think is great. I
Yeah.
really think it's amazing. People showing the lows as well as the highs, because that's relatable. That's real life. Again, the balance to be struck, but Instagram will never be it will never actually accurately reflect your reality. That's just a fact. You may think you know someone, even if they're posting their stories all day every day and you're following them and you're watching them and you feel like you get invested in people. You feel like you really know them. You feel like you really know their lives. You feel like you almost have a personal connection to them, even if it's a celebrity.
When you
And
don't.
that's
Yes,
one of
that's
the
the
craziest
problem.
things about it. It's
Yes.
a problem because you're like, oh yeah, you almost feel like they're your friends, and they're so far from it.
You have 100,000 people who potentially genuinely think that they know you. Um, and there are a lot of dangers to that. For example, like I obviously had that guy being like the sugar daddy.
Mm-hmm.
But have you ever experienced someone taking it too far with private messaging, with any kind of cyber harassment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have actually. I've had a particular case that just completely took it to whole new levels. Um, has actually gotten to court and is pending trial at the moment. So this was a really, really serious case. I will give you sort of an executive summary because it can be quite a lengthy story. Um, Essentially, I think it started in 2014. Basically, this person, this profile on Instagram, started sending me 100 messages a day, 100 messages, comments. Anytime I posted a new photo, would spam that photo with comments, replying back to my friends on the photo, basically just trying to get anything, get a reaction, get a reply back, get something like that. And it started off, and as I said, having the followers, you kind of, you become a little bit numb to this. I've gotten the odd creepy message here or there, and you just kind of laugh it off. But it's one or two, not hundreds, right? So this really kind of escalated. It was the volume and the consistency, and basically for a span of 3 years, this person harassed me on social media every single day. I honestly don't think a day went by that I didn't hear from this person. And it would be, the nature of the comments would vary. They would tend to be very obsessive, very sort of, we're meant to be together, we're going to end up together. It's quite delusional at times, sort of almost as if we already were, or kind of in this idea that, yeah, we're meant to be together, and all of that. And so it went on for a long time. At first, I was kind of like, oh, whatever. And then, like I said, the consistency is what started to really raise red flags in my head. And I was like, I need to do something about this. So basically, when I moved to London in 2016, I was here for a year. And I remember thinking in my head, okay, if this kind of keeps going on, and this is as bad as it is now, as when I have to go back to Montreal, because I still had a year left of my degree to finish in Montreal. I remember thinking, if this is still just as bad, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna really feel safe or feel comfortable going back home. And throughout the course of the years, this person posted photos outside of my place of work. This person mentioned that they had been to my university in Montreal, posted photos in my neighborhood. So this person was in real life. This wasn't just someone behind a screen in another country. This was very real. This was someone that could very easily have access to me. And I'm not a celebrity by any means. I'm not equipped for this sort of thing. I don't have bodyguards. I don't have anything like that. So it was very scary because I didn't have that protection. Um, and so over the years, I would, I would get the comments, and it started getting really annoying, because you post a photo and then you get hundreds of spammy comments, and it's like, I want to see what my actual friends are saying and things like
And
that.
did you ever block him?
Yes. So I would block the accounts, and then he would just make another one. And then
Oh,
I would block it, and he would make another one, and I would block it, and he would make another one. And I think it got up to about 30 accounts blocked. Every single
you
time a
knew it
new
was
one would be
him each
created.
time because
I
it.
knew it was him each time because there was following one person, zero followers, zero photos. And the photo, like the profile picture, would be the most obscure random thing. It would be like a soccer ball or like an orange or something really random, never a photo of an actual human. So I knew right away this is, and also the nature of the comments, the way they were written, you start to recognize it. And I knew, as soon as I would block it, a new one would pop up. So I
You
started to,
also had no idea what this person looked like. They could be anyone in the crowd.
yeah. So that is part of what heightened the sort of, I guess, the scariness for me, was not knowing what this person looked like, not knowing who this person was. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Are they 20 years old? Are they 60 years old? I had no clue. And that was the scariest thing for me because I had no basis of recognition. I would walk down the street, and as soon as somebody looked at me for 2 seconds too long, in my head I was like, is that him? Is that him? Is that him? And that's where it really started to get scary because it was my actual security was threatened. um and that's where I was like, this is not okay. Like I can't live like this. I need to do something about this. So I went off to, this had started already, this had already pretty much, I think he had gone to my place of work before I moved to London. So then I was like, okay, well, you know what, I'm going to London for the year. I'll be safe there. London's a huge city. Nobody knows where I live in London. um, so I felt very safe in London. I had my year here, and this is when I said, what am I going to do if this is still just as intense as when I get back home? So I was, speaking, and everyone, my friends, my network, everybody knew. Also, everybody knew because he would directly, target them and message them and harass them as well. So he really got into the circle and really infiltrated, my boyfriend, even my boyfriend's family at some points. Really, really kind of took it to another level. And I was speaking to my dad one day, and I was like, what do I do? How do I deal with this? And he was like, why don't we start just taking pictures, just take screenshots of everything. And bear in mind, I had never once replied to a comment ever, ever.
Yes,
Like
you never
no,
engaged. Yeah,
no engagement, no sign
which
of
is
life
the
for
worst thing
me.
you can do because people are like, oh, they are real. Oh my God, they are seeing what I'm doing. Let me keep
Exactly,
going.
exactly.
Didn't anyways.
But the only sort of acknowledgement I gave was blocking. And what ended up happening was he started actually kind of getting a kick out of that. It was like, oh, another block. Like, she's noticing me. She's blocking me. Let me try again. Oh, she's noticing me. She's blocking me. Let me try again. So even blocking at a certain point was a disservice to myself because it almost fueled it even more. It was like, hey, I'm getting there, you know? So I eventually, I think after maybe 30 accounts blocked, I was like, you know what? This is obviously going to keep on going. I'm just going to stop blocking, leave it as it is, and start taking screenshots of everything. So I did that for the year that I was in London. And then, you know, obviously at the end of the year, when I was getting ready to move back to Montreal, he was still just as active. And so I basically went to the police with my humongous stack of screenshots, and they took it very, very seriously, which was really nice. I was actually kind of worried, like, is this, you know, because I never had death threats. I think that's one thing to note. That takes it to another level when you're actually getting threats against your life. Like I
That's
kind of just got used to it. I kind of just got numb to it, and I was like, is this? It was obviously bad, but I'm saying the death threat and that, like, police take that, you know, more seriously. It's like imminent, like your life is in danger. Whereas I'd never gotten death threats, but yes, I'd gotten very, very sexual messages. Like the nature of the comments were very obsessive, very, very obsessive, in all respects. So yeah, so I went to the police, and they took it very seriously, and I sent, you know, gave them everything, wrote my declaration, all of that. And through Instagram, through the accounts that I'd blocked, they were able to track down the IP address and find him. And basically, it's still ongoing, because unfortunately, things with the court system and all of that just takes so long. But I was really in a position where I felt like I had no other choice. I felt like I could not move back to Montreal and feel safe walking in the streets on my own. And that was so sad for me, because Montreal is my home. I, you know, born and raised, like I know it like the back of my hand. All of a sudden, I was now faced with this idea of going back home, and feeling like I'm not even going to feel safe walking alone in the day. I'm not even going to feel safe because I don't know what this person looks like.
Did you at any point think, all right, I'm going to delete my Instagram? Like, I can't handle this.
I did. I actually went private for a little bit, but I already had a you know, whatever, let's say 70 or 80,000 followers. So going private meant that whoever's following me is still following me.
Yeah.
So I actually did that, and then I was like, well, this is kind of useless because he's still following me.
Yeah.
But I did think about it, and it actually kind of put me off of it. I definitely reduced my sort of posting, and it made me also super, super wary of my posting. So that's a big thing. I was kind of like, you know what? If I delete my Instagram, then he wins. And that's not fair. I was like, I don't think I should have to do something that like that just because of this. You know what I mean? Like I was very much like, I kind of want to deal with this. I want to get this dealt with so that I don't have to change the way that I live and what I do.
Yeah.
But obviously there is a reality in, you know, quote unquote being in the spotlight, is that you are opening yourself up to the world, and you have to be careful about what you put out there. And so this was a humongous sort of
Reality
like
check.
learning curve for me to figure out, okay, this is real. Like this is a real thing that I'm dealing with, that's happening. Why is it happening to me? I don't know. I'm not even at that, you know, when he first started, I say only, but like only had like 20 or 30,000 followers. Like in the grand scheme of things, I was like kind of like, why me? But you don't
Because
really have
you're
a say in
fit.
that. You don't,
You're
you
really
don't
hot.
really have you don't have a say. Well, thank you. You don't have a say in that. You don't, you know, and people
Yeah.
like people for all sorts of different reasons. So it was kind of like, okay, this is the reality of having a platform, of having a following, and how can I make this as safe as possible for myself beyond the whole, you know, going to the police and dealing with that. It
Yeah.
totally changed how I was on Instagram. It made me very wary of posting anything outside where I lived, anything outside where I was spending most of my time, anything about, you know, if I was at a restaurant and I wanted to take a story of my, you know, my dinner or whoever I was with, I would take the picture and I would save it, and then I would post it like a couple hours later when I was on my way home.
Wait.
So it totally changed that. Not really wanting to show where I am when I'm currently there, which I think is smart anyways. I
Yeah.
think,
I
you
agree.
know, if, for anyone, I just think, why not? Like you can still post your photo, just do it a couple hours later when you're not there anymore. And also Montreal, it's a small city. You know, if I post that I'm, you know, downtown on St. Catherine somewhere, like, you know, someone could be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that was a big kind of change that happened with all of this. And like this whole cyber world, as we said earlier, like it's another world, and it's another area that people can harass you and attack you.
Yeah.
And in the past, it was all in person. You'd see harassment or bullying or things like that. It was all in person. Now it has a whole other world to live in, and it's this cyber world where people feel stronger behind a screen. People are anonymous behind a screen. You have all these keyboard warriors. Everyone has a say, everyone has an opinion, and everyone has a platform to put it out there on. And so when I went like with the police, it was actually kind of one of the first cases they'd ever dealt with of this nature. And bear in mind, I went to them in 2017, so this is almost 4 years ago. But I needed to take that drastic measure because I wouldn't have felt safe by just deleting Instagram, because he still knows what I look like. He
Oh,
knew where I went to university. He
and
knew
you
where I
had no
worked.
idea what he looked like.
He
And
knew, he had no clue. He knew where I worked. He went to the store that I worked at. Like, that is scary.
that is
So,
very scary.
so that's where I was like, I can delete it, but it kind of just felt like a band-aid. I was like, I need to actually deal with this. Like, this guy needs to be confronted, because
Mhm.
I will not feel safe just continuing to walk around Montreal again, not knowing what the person looked like. And once I knew what the person looked like, there was an almost immediate sense of, okay,
Yeah.
like I have at least some sort of grounds
Yeah.
to protect myself. I saw him in court, but I'd also seen photos beforehand from the police. And, it gives me some sort of, like I said, just grounds
Know
to,
who your
to
enemies are.
gauge, to
Yeah,
know who your enemies are. You're walking in the street.
absolutely.
But I mean, literally, Jess, it could have been a woman, it could have been a man. Like, as soon as somebody looked at me for even just a second too long, it was the alarm bell in my head of, is that it? Is that the
Yeah.
person? Is that,
Well, I
I
think I
don't know.
speak I think I speak for everyone who's listening to this, and just absolute big hug to you, because I can't imagine the emotional distress that caused you, your family, your loved ones for years. And
Yeah.
yeah, I have nothing but admiration that you decided, I'm going to take you down, because I guarantee if he did it to you, maybe he was doing it to someone else.
Yeah, that was a driving force for me as well, was this is happening all over the world. This is happening to people probably more often than we think. And it was kind of this almost, I don't want to even say like a Me Too movement, but it was like, I need to do this, and hopefully this will make other people do it. And if this makes even one other person step up and stand up to, their online harasser, then I feel good about myself. I feel like I've helped someone else navigate this, because it's a tricky field to navigate. It's not comfortable. It's very vulnerable. It's very scary. And it's not fun. It's not something that anyone really should have to deal with. And just because you have a following doesn't mean you should be destined to be harassed. And
Yeah.
it was that kind of idea of, I want to speak up. Hopefully, maybe, if someone else sees this and is going through it, even on a smaller scale. Like, my case was very extreme. Like I said, the quantity and the consistency was very extreme. But even if it's on a smaller scale, if someone's making you feel uncomfortable, like, you don't have to just be a victim to that.
Mhm.
And so yeah, a driving force was just whether he's doing it to other people, whether other people are having it done by other online harassers. It was kind of this like, don't stay silent. Like, you should not have to just stay silent and accept this and deal with this as your reality. You
Yeah.
can do something about this. And hopefully, if you take it to the police, or if you take it, even steps below that, like, people take this stuff seriously, and people value your safety and security, and they do justice.
That is so good to hear as well, because I feel like all the time we hear about like maybe the law enforcement just failing on that end.
Yeah. And
Wow.
that might happen. Like, I feel very grateful that they did take it very seriously. I was not sure going into it how this would go down. But it was the right thing to do. It was what I knew I had to do in order to be able to continue, and that's the thing. I live in London now, but I go home. Montreal's my home. I go home, twice a year, and it's it's made me feel safe going home now. Whereas, like, had I just kind of ignored it and never dealt with it, I think that would be looming for a while.
Absolutely. It would almost be running away. And instead, you tackled him head on. And
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, because I don't know if I would have had the guts. But I guess when your back is up against the wall, like what else do you have to do but fight?
100%. And I had an amazing support system, like, everybody around me, everyone that had experienced it themselves, right? He had harassed them to a certain degree. Like some of my
Yeah.
best friends, my boyfriend, like it was pretty crazy. So everyone was kind of like, this, you have to do this. Like I had a really strong support system. So that really, really made the world of a difference as well.
Absolutely. So final question for you. Um,
Yes.
what advice can you give to people out there who, are trying to manage their own mental health? Because with COVID, I feel like there's just not a lot going on right now, and it's just so much easier to fall into the trap of like going online. What can you say to people out there? Like, what tips do you have to get out of that vortex?
Mm, okay. My top tips are, again, I
Let's
think
hear them.
it's let's hear them. It's again, as I said, I'm not saying delete your Instagrams, I'm not saying delete your social medias, but think about your relationship with it. Actually take a minute to think about how it makes you feel, how much time and energy you're putting into it, what you're getting out of it. And my top tips, and this is what I've really implemented since the detox, first of all, is to disable notifications. That was something I never thought I would do before, ever. I was like, if someone comments on my picture, I want to know. And I always set my notifications to be only people that I'm following. So
Oh,
when,
can you do that?
oh yes, oh yes, it's
Shirley, you're
amazing.
teaching
So
me
that
so
because
much.
I was like, look,
Go on.
obviously,
Yeah.
I was like, obviously, at the end of the day, I'm getting, if I'm getting a bunch of comments on a photo, I want to see who my friends, what my
This
friends are
is
saying.
how famous people do it. I'm like,
Yes.
how do they know
Haven't you
their
always
one
wondered why?
friend? Yeah, like there's like 2,000 comments, but they like replied to like their one friend. I'm like, how did they know that?
How did they see it? Exactly.
Yeah.
You can go in the settings and make it so that you only get notified when the people that you're following comment. But beyond that, so I had that. I've always had that. And then beyond that, I just disabled them because it's such a it's part of the vortex. It sucks you back in. You see the notification, you click on the picture again, and then you start looking at it again, and you look at the likes and you look at the comments and whatever. So disabling the notifications really puts, I feel like it puts me in the driver's seat, and it says when I want to check Instagram, I can go and check Instagram, but Instagram's not calling out to me all day. So disabling it just kind of like out of sight, out of mind. And then I choose when I want to go on and when I want to enter the vortex. Um, so that would probably be a big one. And taking phone breaks, like just I turn my phone on airplane mode sometimes, like at night after working. Um, and I just want to chill out, have some me time, or if I'm with my friends or my boyfriend, like just turn it on airplane mode. Like nothing, usually nothing is emergency imminent. And turning it on airplane mode really allows me to turn off.
Mm,
Because even if you put it on do not disturb, which I do pretty much all day, every day, it's still on. And as soon as you tap it to look at the clock, right, to see what time it is, then
you see
you're there,
everything.
you have everything at your fingertips. So the airplane mode works really well because you're not even, the messages aren't even coming through, so you're not even being tempted. And also, people, if they send you a message, they see that it hasn't been delivered, they're not like, and I know this sounds, but I've had this before of people being like, why aren't you answering me, like I saw it delivered, like blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I didn't check my phone for a few hours, like. And so actually turning it on airplane mode means that it doesn't even deliver. So then people are like, oh, her phone must have died, or
Yeah,
oh,
it
I guess she's
reduces
not
their
on it.
anxiety as well. That,
A
yeah.
100%. So I really love the airplane mode because it's like actually turning it off, turning into what I'm doing. And a big thing for me, and this is something I think I will continue to work on throughout the rest of my life, but just being really mindful in my day to day, being very present. And the phone is an automatic presence stealer. Like it steals you away from the present moment. It spoils moments. It takes you into another world, and you'll be sitting there at a dinner with your friends, or whatever, and when you see people on their phones, like they're so not there in that moment. And it's really a shame, because we have so much time to be on our phones. But when you're with people, when you're doing something, be with those people, do those
Especially now,
things.
like it's so rare to be with friends right now because of COVID. Like enjoy
Exactly.
those moments.
Enjoy those moments, because it really, like the second you look at your screen, you're zapped out of your present moment and you're zapped into your phone. And it's like we become robots. You know, you see people walking down the street on their phone, and it's like we're all we're like these robots, just kind of like addicted to our phones. And
Absolutely.
so things like that, just kind of being conscious, like reading the room, just knowing where you are, seeing who you're with, and enjoying that company rather than, you know, checking about who's texted you. That's something that can wait. It's not urgent. They
Yeah.
don't need your attention right this second.
Yeah.
You know, you can answer them in an hour. They're not going to be offended.
Yeah.
So things like that. And another one that I had always heard of and never really did it because I was like, oh no, my phone's my alarm clock. But charging my phone in another room has been wonderful.
Okay.
It has been a great tool for me, because
At night, you mean,
I'm
when you're
not
sleeping?
at night. Yeah. So
Okay.
so plugging my phone in, I'll plug it in the kitchen. I'll go up to my room, set my alarm on my actual alarm clock. Those
Oh my
things still
gosh, Charlotte,
exist.
how did you do
They
that?
still exist. I know it's
Wow.
crazy archaic, but I actually have an alarm clock, and it's one of those light alarm clocks, so it like wakes me up with the light, which I love.
Send me
Um,
that, please. Yeah,
and
I
it's
need
just
to wake up.
it's a nicer way to wake up. It's not your phone blaring. And then here's the other thing, or airplane mode your phone and charge it in your room. That would be my alternative to that.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you kind of turn off your alarm, you're on the notifications, and you're pulled right into your phone. And it's like you haven't even gone to the bathroom, you haven't even had your coffee, and
Yes.
you've already been sucked in. So
Uh-huh.
so
I'm having a
charging
little
in
of
another
this. Yeah.
room allows me to wake up, have a nice couple minutes with myself, have my coffee, wake up, and then go onto my phone. It's this kind of like, it's the last thing we
Conscious
look at
choice.
before bed, and it's the first thing we look at when we wake up. And
Mhm.
that's kind of crazy.
It is. It genuinely is.
Turn off your cyber self,
Yeah.
turn that off to then tune into your real self. I think it's
Ooh,
really
I
important
like
to do
that.
that.
Turn off your cyber self to turn on to your real self. You are a
Yeah.
wise one, Charlotte. Okay.
I feel like sometimes I kind of just like come out with these
You do.
quotable
You're
things, and
quotable.
I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you have some quotes to take from this, I hope.
I definitely do. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been
Mm.
so interesting hearing about like your journey, and it's been really enlightening. And I have written down so many tips, and I'm definitely getting that alarm clock. So
I'll send
thank
you the
you
one I
so much
have.
again. And where
Well,
can the
thank you so much
listeners
for
find
having
you
me.
on social media?
You can find me at Char Bouchard. That's pretty much my username across the board. That's pretty much it. I'm not like, don't have a website or anything like that. So if you want to see my periodic updates on Instagram, you
I
can
want to see
follow
these
me.
artsy flower pictures.
Oh, yes.
Bring them on.
Yes. Yeah. You can find me there. But thank you so much for having me, Jess. This has been really nice. And I think it's great. I love what this whole I Can Relate podcast is about. I think it's so important. And I think being able to relate, whether you can actually directly relate or just take a walk in someone else's shoes and relate in that sense, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I hope post-COVID, I get to actually hang out with you in London. That'd
Yes,
be great.
100%. 100%.
Yes.
We'll speak soon.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to I Can Relate. If you'd like to hear more of these episodes, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. You can do this on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or any other platform you're listening on. To become a part of the community, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Join me next time for another episode. Thanks for listening.